See, with this, I can get both, but with my phone, I ain't gonna be able to get us both. Until I get this machine, this is how I gotta do it. Ain't that some bullshit?
No, that's just how it is. You gotta do what you gotta do, what you got, until you can get better.
Right.
You gotta start somewhere. We gotta evolve.
Hey, the struggle is real.
You seen my other interviews before with like Channel 11 and stuff.
I caught a couple.
I'm talking about the old ones. I ain't that bad no more. It's like, no, I'm just kidding. I might be.
Yeah, like you said, you gotta start somewhere. So, I'd like to give it a few seconds just to set in. You know what I mean? But welcome to the I'm Not Okay podcast, and I'm your host, Darnell Henderson. And today I just wanted to share an open conversation amongst friends. A beautiful person, a friend of mine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Selena Peterson. Background, grew up in Belle Suver. Um, lived on the south side majority of my life. Known him the majority of my life. Um, Pretty much everything that I've done as far as the streets is just my experience from the things that I've been through and what I don't want to see somebody else go through. And then here we are.
Right. Excuse me, please. Yeah, so growing up in Belsour, can you tell us, how that impacted your life?
I think that growing up in Belle Suver, it molded me into being a very survival survivalist because the streets are very similar to being in the wilderness or being in a war. I saw a lot. So one thing about Belsuver that people may not know is that Belsuver is not always what it is known to be now. Belsuver, when I was a child, a small child, we grew up with fruit trees. We grew up with neighbors who would sit outside and you would play with the other children. You could walk up and down the street freely. It was a really good place. People worked. We loved each other, and it was a nice middle class, safe neighborhood. When the drugs got introduced into the neighborhood story, things started to change for the worse. Um, the drugs were so powerful. I watched people that I loved and respect go from hardworking people to hardworking to get the crack.
Right.
Like it was a bad situation. I watched a lot of my friends um, who did have to survive. A lot of us were living on the streets for whatever reason. We all had different reasons that we had to on our own, rather than our parents decided to try the drug and couldn't come back from it. A lot of a lot of females were having babies, maybe being put out or had nowhere to go. Just a lot of different reasons, and we developed a family from that. And um, like I said, just the different people from Belsuver and the things that we dealt with growing up, we learned to survive. I saw a lot of drugs, a lot of deaths, um, a lot of things that you shouldn't see in your teen years, not in your lifetime. In the combination of all the things, it made me lose trust and learn how to want to gain trust in a different way, which is earned. It learned taught me how to choose people not by what they say,
Hmm.
but by what I saw from them. It's never words, it's just what you do, you know. But Belsuber definitely molded me. It traumatized me, but it helped me grow, you know.
I definitely understand. Excuse me. Excuse me. I definitely understand what you mean, and what you say and growing up in Belt Super. But um, I also see how it turned a lady in you like it. Well, I can't say turn. I should have said set like some type of flame because I see that you have a lot of achievements. Would you like to share any of them?
Yeah. Um, but before the achievements, I'll start with the part that I was down bad and out.
Okay.
I was surrounded by a lot of people that I'm ashamed of the beginning part. Um, we had to make money in an unconventional way.
Right.
And there were people who knew we were in a different career path that knew that they should have been helping us to put money in different places,
Right.
and they didn't do it because I feel of jealousy and envy because we were doing things they didn't. So I was down and out with in bad situations, felony felony records, drug charges. Family didn't love me. I could walk in and be around family. They would turn their backs on me, and I come from a place of where I had no love. So I had to learn to love myself. And I love my mother to death. She may or may not see this, but I didn't grow up with love from my mother. And I will say this: she loved everybody in the neighborhood, but my mother was not good to me. And I had to, as a young woman, figure out who I was and how to love myself. And that really didn't occur till my late 20s or 30s. But I started to learn, all right, you're better than this and you can do better this, and don't let anybody else be in that situation. So from going to different places, from having like all these scars on my back of being a felon, and no, we don't want you, this is what you did, and you're
Mm.
associated with this person, that person. I said, well, you know what, I'm gonna still go and get my education.
Right.
Went and got my accounting, went and got business management. I did other things as far as with cooking, and I have my CDLs, my heavy equipment. I went to school for a range of different things. That I have a book of different things that I've been to school for, and I've worked different jobs because anything that somebody tells me I couldn't do, I made it my point to say, "Oh, I'm gonna do that." Except the doctor,
I know that's
you
right.
know, because it started with the abuse, and I had to break that down and say, well, if the person who was supposed to love me was wrong, who else is wrong?
Wow.
You know?
I mean, that like kind of like that resonated real deep. Like I don't really know that people understand how self reflecting you got to be able to come to a statement like that. Like that was deep. That was real deep.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I appreciate the moment. You know.
yeah.
Um, excuse me for that. Go figure, right? It's always something. It kind of distracted me. Oh, so yeah, okay. Well, we got to get back to some of your accomplishments because they're very important. Like I said, being from Bel Sur, and I noticed that a lot of us, one way or another, have something to do with the youth, and I find that to be very enlightening. Like our age group, we're all indulging in not just youth but community of some sort. You know what I mean? And we're eager to share that with the world. So, I know that's one of the reasons why you were willing to participate in this. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
I
can.
could, yeah, I'll touch on those things. So I started working with the community when we start losing people. Slowly but surely working my way because we were, like I said, we were young watching people die, and I didn't want that. My thing is, if there's a boulder in the road for me, I want to move it for the next person.
Right.
So I started the started my own violence prevention. Before Bell Super was doing it and the South Side was doing it, I was doing things. I was talking to young people. I was trying to get them help and letting them stay with me and trying to help them to push through school so they could get to a better place. Um, I did work somewhat with a few of the people around with their programs, but with honesty, I have to speak. They all want to do call to action and march, but there was never action.
Right.
So I said to myself, what I need to move forward and do is I'm going to try to create my own businesses to help young people. And this isn't a plug, but this is just what it had to be. It was what made people turn to violence, what made people turn to streets. In a lot of situations, it was poverty. A lot of
Yeah.
situations, it was bullying. A lot of places, it was just being people not loving you the way you were supposed to be loved. So when I did motivational speaking through Catholic Charities and through Dress for Success, my main goal when I spoke to women was when you see another woman, it is important that no matter how you feel that day, you find something to compliment her on
Right.
because we go through it, especially Black women.
Right.
When you see another woman in the room, be happy. Don't look them up and down and try to tear them apart. We need each other. And a lot of Black women, we've been trained to tear each other apart and judge and fight each other. So that's one thing I did with the motivational speaking. Now, with the commitment cuts, that was something that I got into. That was for the youth. I went around the entire Pittsburgh, going to different barber shops and beauty salons, and I asked the barbers if you can give any young person a haircut and I'll pay for it. And this is a part of the bullying because when they go to school, there might be a child that may not be able to get their haircut or braided or whatever. And that'll cut away from one of the aspects of them being impoverished, or their parents might not care, or they just can't afford it at that time. And so that was the commitment cut. So I asked them to donate or just donate a haircut. And like I told them, you can write that off. Then another one was fixing this and that, and I would work with different young people to try to get them a trade, help them also fix their self, learn to love their self, just different conversations. And this was pretty much all by myself, um, because it was already in me. When I went to different people to get grants, they wanted to take it and see how much they could get off of it and how much and I said, for every grant dollar that you get, there should be a life saved or a person's life changed. It doesn't make sense to me that you're getting these millions of dollars and there's no real impact on the community.
Right.
So I
Right.
had to
Right.
step aside and say, I'll just do this by myself. If I find a young person, I'll go help them. And also that also work with people coming out of jail. I'm not a fan of giving nobody nothing. I help to show you how to get what you need. Don't ask me for nothing after that. I'll help you through it. I'll show you the resources. And then the last one was the Queen Goddess Corporation. That incorporated a lot of things. Um, it was just helping people get housing. I started with letting young people live with me, and this has been going on for years. Anybody that under the age of 18, I had a girls' house first, so my daughters could bring women or young females over to come stay if they had no place to stay. If they didn't know how to properly wash herself. I remember my daughter saying, Mom, she's having her period and she doesn't know what to do. And I get it
Right.
because I didn't learn.
Right.
And it was no judgment. It was like, all right, we're going to have this conversation. And I don't want you to feel bad about it because you're going to run into somebody who their mom may not have at the time, their mom was not there, or she just didn't care enough to show you how to be a woman. And then it moved on to when my daughters went out the house, it was boys and letting them stay. I mean, there's been times I think I've had maybe 6, 7 young men in the house at one time. And that hurt me the most because they were at 13 years old. I had a 13-year-old at my house. And I always in the back of my house in my head, I never said it to the boy. Where the hell is your mother?
Right.
How are you 13 years old? She hasn't looked for you. She has not. Where's your mother? Then to come find out she's not on drugs, nothing. You're not even a bad child, but she was too concerned with chasing a man
Mm.
to worry about something that she created and brought forth to this world. And it just made me say, I got to fight harder for these people. I got to fight harder for these young people, even if it's in the backgrounds, because some parents get offended when you help their children. It's
They,
insane.
you're right. They will fight you.
They
They
will.
will fight you for trying to watch their children be successful. That is crazy.
It is. And so in the streets, I just can, even though I'm not as active in the streets as I was, I turned away from a lot of people and finances that were available and job offers, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you're not truly saving these children
Right.
and helping them to succeed,
Right.
I don't want no parts of it. Money can't buy me, you know. But I still will move. Anybody could call me, hey, this person needs help, and I got them. Like I probably got at least 7 sons that I didn't birth. I got daughters that I didn't birth, and I'm blessed to have them in my life. And even when they start having children, I had one young brother when he was having his baby. He's like, "Hey, mom, I'm having a baby." When he got engaged, he sent me, the ring, and I was like, I never wanted that, but it's like I'm thankful to the universe that they look back and remember me and
Right.
included me on these happy parts of their life.
Right. It makes you feel
It
good.
does, because sometimes your children, they forget because they're your children. But the other ones, it may have been that one time, that one hug or that, come on, you're doing good, champ.
Change
You
their
got
life.
it.
Yeah, you
You
change their
know,
life. Right, right, right. That's my goal here. Because I know when I was young living in Bell Sugar, I didn't have someone stop and be like, let me teach you something other than how to run these four corners. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And I know that somewhere in my head, my mind as a man, I realized how detrimental that became to my life. And I'm open to change. So, why not try to help? And that's where I admire you, because when we had the conversation, you was telling me how you had a nonprofit. I just realized your worth ethic. Like like you said, you really can't like. I tell people all the time they get into taking the Fed's money for balance prevention, but I tell them all the time the Feds ain't gonna pay you to do their job, so you're only gonna be able to do so much.
Only so much.
You know what I'm saying? And they're going to dictate front of it all. The person that's really putting in the work, you're making pennies, but the person that's doing nothing is making all the money. So that's another reason why I would never get into it for the money. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not genuine, and these youth, they deserve something genuine. You know what I mean? And I could see where in my life, like you said, just stopping and talking to a child. I remember a couple of people came back to me like, "Man, you don't know how you was going in the store and you said something to me, and it made me leave niggas alone." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so just to know that you can help somebody change the outcome of their future. Because sometimes if you don't see nothing, you don't do nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That means you ain't doing nothing in the first place. You know what I mean? A person with a vision is a person with a plan. You got to be putting your foot to something. You know what I'm saying? And everybody don't understand that. And I admire that. Like anytime I see people, we can name them from Bell Super. Like it's more than just a handful.
Yeah.
You know. So that's a very proud moment. But I want to touch on another thing that you talked about. Now I want to really, I don't really want to be too
Can I speak on
personable.
one thing?
Yeah, we can talk
There
about
was
whatever.
no, like you said, you wish that there was a person. When I was in the streets, there was not a woman out there that was doing the things I was doing, except the one who she passed away. But she wasn't a woman. So there was no one to say to me, don't do this, don't do that, or come here. because they were like, something's got to be wrong with this girl for her to be out here on these streets. You know what I'm saying? And it bothered me because they would say the things they would say behind my back, but we'll be quick to ask for money. I mean, family members, friends, and that hurt me when I got older. Like, you didn't like me, you wouldn't guide me, you wouldn't take me in your house to help me, but you would take from me the things that you said I was doing from evil. And that I mean, and it shaped me in a different direction of things. Like, like when the one of the young boys, thank God he's doing well now. He came and he had all this money, and he was like, "Oh, mom, I said, I know what you're doing." I said, "You can't bring that here." "Oh, no, no, no." I said, "Listen, if that's what you want to do, that's your mom's okay with that. I don't do that here because that is me subliminally letting you know that it's okay to do what you're doing. I don't want to see you dead. I don't want to see you in jail. I cannot, So I did want to speak on that. It's hard to find somebody that's going to be bold enough or love you enough to say, what you doing ain't right. Come on, go this way."
So, with you talking on that aspect, um, can you tell people that are watching, um, how you grown up with a father, or how that affects you?
So my father, he gave me my work ethic. I watched my father go out there, and there was 8 children natural, and there was a ton of motherfuckers living with us that wasn't he didn't have. And I saw that no matter who came in the house, my dad was providing. I don't care who you was, you could always eat at my house and sit on the porch. But my dad, he provided the work ethic. My father didn't approve. So, with honesty, the reason why me and my sister were on the streets is because at 17 and 18, we got pregnant. My dad was a strong Christian. He said, "Get the fuck out my house." And he said to my family, "Y'all better not let them in." So my daughter, she had got out the hospital. I want to say it was like January. It was snowing like hell. It was that big high ass snow. I'm walking down the street, premature baby. She's maybe a few months because she just got out the hospital. And I seen Worm. Remember Worm?
Yeah,
He
my
was
man.
driving up the street with Ab in the car, and I forget who else. Ab, tall Ab. And he's like, "What is you doing? Is that a baby in your arms?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where you going?" I said, "I don't know. My dad told me I gotta go." He said, "You can't be out here with a baby. You gonna die." I said, "Please, just take me to the north side." He's like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Please, just take me to the north side." I didn't know what my plans were, but I was going to the north side. So I go to the north side. I knock on my aunt's door. I was like, "Aunt Pauline, could you please?" I shouldn't even say this. "Can you please take the baby? My dad kicked me out." She's like, "Albert said don't let y'all in." I said, "Please take the baby." So I gave her the baby, and I went back outside because I didn't want to risk me going in, but just take the baby. I met some people. I went back over to Bill Suver. Pepper went to jail, and Pep somehow me and him got in contact. And I said, "Pep, I ain't got nowhere to go." And he was in jail. He was like, "I need you to go get these blah blah blah." That I left it because I don't want to get the people in trouble or something. I said, "Well, oh, that stuff y'all be. I was like, "Well, you think I can make some money?" He's like, "No, I don't want you getting no trouble." I was like, "Pep, I don't got nowhere to go." So he told me what to do, and I did it. And from then it was a wrap. You know what I mean? It was just, I just was like, I'm not. I said, I'm gonna be honest. I said, I ain't selling no pussy like these bitches. I said, I'd rather do this than be out here slinging some coochie. Like, I'm not with none of that. And it was just, and then
Excuse
honestly,
me.
I'm gonna be honest. After the fact of me being able to have a place to stay, greed is what it is. People who lie and say they're out there trying to feed their family. No, when you get past a certain point with finances, with that lifestyle, you're being greedy. It's
True.
great.
True.
And it did feel nice. It was, the cars and doing what you want, but it was great. Because if I was truly trying to provide for my family, I'd have had shit put up. My daughters would have had a house. My parents would have had shit. I'd have had shit. No, I was being greedy.
Right.
It
Right.
was it was it was something else.
Right.
But that's just being honest. Everybody else will tell you, oh, I'll be trying to feed my family. Get the fuck out of here. What's your family got? Nothing.
You know what? I be trying to get the youth to understand that too. Like, with this here, what we doing right now, in the position that we in, this here internet, like there's so many choices now to get paid. Like,
So
you
many.
don't have to do too much of nothing to actually make you some money, man. I mean, it's how you willing to sell your integrity,
You could
basically.
get paid on doing what you could get paid on sleeping. You could get on the internet, like you said, and people will pay you to watch you sleep. They
Yeah.
will pay you to do anything if you put your mind. You ain't even got to put your mind to it.
No,
Just do something.
no.
Do anything. And put
So,
them fucking guns down. Get your shit together.
as a female, that you say you was in the streets. Well, I ain't gonna say you say because, like you said, I know personally,
Yeah.
but the viewer may not know. But um, I wanna bring light to something that most people wouldn't bring light to, and I just need your emotion or whatever feeling along with the understanding that you can give. Like, so if you could give your deepest, honest feelings about one of your friends that got killed in the streets, maybe even if you've seen it or not, like, I mean, without being too personal, but being personal at the same time, can you? Because I think that a lot of times, like, I know when I saw, like, something of the situation as a boy, it was like something I really, you know, shut down on. You know what I mean? But I know that, there's communities everywhere and these things happen. So I really want to get the understanding of how females react to seeing, their friends and, things of that nature all stretched out in the street. Like, I'm trying to watch how I say certain things, you know what I mean?
No, okay, so with me, I think that with a lot of things, and this is just my perspective, because I had to live, and I'm not gay, everybody. I'm just a woman that hung around guys and did a lot of stuff with guys. And I think that's what kept me wise on a lot of things because I could talk to them and they be talking to me, and I would know the insides and out of everything. So when a guy would come at me, I'd be like, homeboy just did that to girlie. Like, I'm not stupid. But with seeing people die, like I seen a lot of people die. But because I knew I had to have a hard outer shell, I had to internalize. When Buddha died, little Buddha,
Yeah.
I was dealing with somebody, and I didn't let no tears out when I heard it. I went in the bathroom and turned the shower on, got in the shower because I, in my head, had a cocoon. I had sh- to shelter myself because of how I was living, because I could not, and still sometimes now I try not to, because just how I've been, show weakness. But it impacted me greatly. Like, why? What? Why? Like, we was just doing this or we were just doing that. And it really felt like a piece of me left. Like when with Quay, the most one of the most traumatic things, even though I was not there, that was my brother. And when they when I heard what happened, I don't even know how I heard it. We rushed to the hospital. It was me and JC rushed to the hospital. We're out there, and it was Presbyterian. I'll never forget. There's people throwing wheelchairs around, like people snapping out. And they're like, when they said, "Oh, you didn't make it," whatever. I just was like, "Wow." Now, on another plane of things, I do not understand the universe, soul swap and stuff like that. But a piece of me left. And when we had to bury him, I didn't want to leave. I didn't understand why even though I forget how old I was, maybe 19, or I can't recall the age I was, but I just couldn't understand, and it was so much pain in my heart. I felt like I just couldn't do nothing. I was so angry. I just I just couldn't be myself any longer, and I had hatred too. I hated the people he was with at the time. I hated the people who they claimed did it. Like I just was so angry, and I'm like, well, now what am I supposed to do as a woman? What am I supposed to do? And I'm in the streets, and I just and I still think about it. I always think about it. And one thing I always say to people when we go to funerals, like we go to too often, every death replays itself to me. Every single one. From the first person I saw murder was John, my next door
Mm,
neighbor. I was a kid. I don't know how old I was, maybe 12, 13, 14. Me, my sister Amy, and this girl Hope was standing playing over by the pub or across the street by the Wellens. And they came up, shot them. We're kids.
yeah.
And this is my next door neighbor, not some random person. My next door neighbor. And we watched him die. We watched the shakes. We watched everything. And the sad part is that because society doesn't know how to treat us and deal with us, because this isn't a common thing. It is now. Not it's not even common. It's more, it happens more, but it's not a natural thing. So they don't know how to deal with us in schools. The therapist, I didn't even have a therapist. That nobody knew how to deal with us when it happened. So it's just like carry on. I watched a man's brains get shot out in front of me. I watched the man die. I watched him, and it was to the point where he was there so long. I smelled the blood getting old. You know that smell, and I'm like, no counselor, no therapist, no nothing. Just going to school. You going to school?
So that that oh man, I don't really know. I mean, I guess there's a lot of emotion to that inside you. I can see. So I don't really know how far to go. You know what I mean?
Go as far as you want
I
because
don't want to,
you got to
be
talk
too
about things. These children have no idea of what really goes on when you put up a gun and you shoot somebody. You
right.
think you get that, oh, free so and so and all that shit and the release the balloons. No, there's a lot. Like you said, there's the emotion, there's the mental. There's a lot of people that go through a lot of things. And even imagine being the one that has to pull a trigger on somebody, not because of no corny shit, but because of some real shit that occur. I can't even say real shit because what they say is real is different from a motherfucker touching your child or doing some slash shit to your
Right.
family,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But there's a lot that is in that and is going through your brain. So these young people, all they know about is the glamorous part about it, which is not glamorous. There's nothing cool about RIP and free so and so. That's an embarrassment to yourself and it's embarrassment to society. That's why we try to figure out ways to help them not get in these situations. I don't want to see my son, his friends, or any child for any reason in jail. Jail is it is the concentration of the worst people. Even the ones who didn't do too much, maybe they might have had a little bit of weed, but they put all the bad people, or the people they say they better made bad decisions. They're not bad people, made bad decisions that they can't take back in one place. You don't get all the good, and you don't get the people to come through that's happy and joyous and sincerely happy about life. There are people who may never get out in there. And it's not okay to think, yeah, I just did a bid, or that's not cool. I hated every part of jail. Hated it.
You right about that.
Nigga, I was
I ain't
like,
going
oh
back.
damn. I woke up like this ain't over yet.
Um. Wow. So going through those things, excuse me, going through those things and seeing those things take place as a female. did it show up in relationships? Like, I mean, did you have some type of stress, living this way, becoming a person that had to shut down most of your emotions?
It really did. So in relationships, um, like I said, I grew up with a lot of men, and I didn't grow up with punks. The guys that I hung around were solid. Even the one that people say a lot of stuff about, solid. Like as far as he didn't play. So when I dealt with guys, I held them to that, alongside of my father, a hard worker. So when I dealt with people, first of all, I know game when it's coming, and I know a soft guy as far as morals when I deal with them.
That was a deep statement. Good. Let
So
me hear
they,
you.
so when I go to deal with somebody, it's more or less I don't have the patience for bullshit. And I've been told this by a lot of my real close friends. Because of who you are, men are very intimidated. And the ones who don't know you, when they find out, they're going to be even more intimidated. Because if they fuck you over, one, you can do something to them. Two, you got a slew of friends who ain't trying to see you hurt. So either they're super solid and they're like, nah, I got this. Or they gonna fuck up on purpose. Because the way they think of themselves to be is, and when they get to see me, I'm a mirror for men. I'm a mirror. I show you without saying nothing exactly who you are, because you can't put nothing past me. I'm not gonna say shit. But I'm just I a genuine person. I'm realistic, I'm logical, and I don't accept nonsense, negativity, bullshit, lies. So when you see you can't penetrate through that, oh well, oh I ain't really that. I ain't going to even keep on trying, or I'm gonna do this out of third. So it does, and even with my trust with guys, I've heard it all, I've seen it all, and it's hard for somebody to tell me something that's not true. Relationships, you have to be a 100 stand up guy, like, and know yourself. You can't sit there and say, um, I'm an honest guy, I'm a hardworking guy, and say this to me. You have to be about the actions. And like I said to a friend of mine, I said, I might be meant to be by myself because they can't add up. It's not that I'm looking for something greater. Be yourself. But also understand that when it comes to me, I come with a lot of realness, and the people surrounding me, it's like a solid army that have been training. They're not trying to hurt you, but we protect each other. We love each other, and it's a family that we built, that we were not born into. And those are the stronger families, and those are the best ones to have, because I'd rather choose somebody than you be forced on me any day. But it definitely affects my relationships. And like, I hate when people I bumped into, and it's so sad. I bumped into somebody, and I was with this guy. I think I tell this story all the time. He was a neurosurgeon. He was working at Mercy. His name was Aaron Alfred. Alfred. Aaron Alfred. Alfred. And we were dating, and we went out somewhere, and somebody was like, "What's up, gangster?" to me.
Hmm.
And mind you, I was working in the laboratory at the time, Mercy. Um, and he was like, "What the hell are they talking about?" And then the dudes start going into stuff about, "Yeah, remember you said," and I'm like, I'm silent as hell, because eventually that could have been revealed to him and in the conversations. But I think that everything that was being said was too much all at once. And he said to me, and it kind of broke my heart. He was like, I can't deal with somebody who's been involved in that type of lifestyle. He's like, is that true? What am I going to do? Lie? Oh no, no, no. I said, that's not who I am. I'm moving to be something better. But it's true. That's my past. He was just in awe. He's like, I just can't. He said, this is my life. This is what I'm doing. And I can't have that in my life. And at the time, I didn't have the words that, and, and, like I said, I was just hurt at the time that I
Right.
couldn't construct anything to come back with. But I got it. I don't want. I get it. You know, I you don't want to be with somebody who who has the image of all her friends are drug dealers and killers and and just gangsters. I get it. I get it. Because you are successful in life. You are careful in life. And we had to survive. And a lot of times, like they say, equally yoked, that means something.
Mm.
If you have not experienced what I've been through, if you've not come from the path that I've come from, you may not understand me and I don't understand you. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Right.
you have to have things in common and have an understanding and be able to empathize with a person. And you can't empathize with a person if you don't have a few strings attached to something that they've dealt with. I can't deal with a person, just say a guy you grew up in, um, we'll say further out, like Upper St. Clair, you've never touched a hood. You're a brother. Your parents both successful. No one's ever used drugs. You've only saw one person die in your life. You've never had any struggle. And I've been struggling all my life. Even when I work hard, I'm struggling. Because there's times that I'm going through things and I might need to talk to you and you just don't understand why I don't wake up tomorrow and just get on with life because I still got to deal with it mentally. You don't understand why there's sometimes that I got to go hang out with my friends that know me and can understand what I'm talking about because I should just be able to just sit down and talk to you and it's done and over with. Those common bonds mean a lot. Excuse me. It means a lot.
Yeah. That goes to show, you got to be able to respect other people's boundaries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes what you like ain't always the vision for you. And sometimes when you're young, you don't understand that could even be possible because you be so attracted to a thing that it becomes somewhat a desperation or a desire. So when you can't have it, it's like an eye opening on why. And I guess you learned that at a very good age. So I guess the things that you went through, I can see that with that inspiration that you can build up a life or you can build up hope within someone because you've had deep struggles, you know. And I can see that, you know what I'm saying, that the, there are a lot of qualities in females that had no choice, as you explained to us, that the atmosphere that you grow up in wasn't really a choice you had to make in order to survive, and I see that your hope is to help, you know what I'm saying, people like that. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody, young male, young female?
Yeah, it's a choice. There are a lot of females that you and I both know, same exact situations, but they chose to do things in a different way. They chose to not push yourself. And like I said, even though I had a mom and a dad, it wasn't there. It wasn't the support. It wasn't, hey girl, you got this. I remember, and I would just talk to my younger brother about this. Every graduation I had from all the different things I've done, they didn't show up. That shit hurt,
Right.
you know. The all the rallies and the marches that I did. My mom just said recently to my sister. My sister just bought a house. Congratulations! I'm so proud of her.
Oh,
Single
she got the house.
mom.
She did get the
Yes,
house. Oh,
yes.
that's what's up.
So proud of
Congratulations.
her.
I ain't gonna mention you, but
Yeah.
you know who you are. Congratulations.
And my mom said, "Oh, you're my what fourth child that bought a house." She said, then she started naming the names. And I said, Mom, I bought 5 houses in Detroit. I have a house in Cancun. I said, I was the first child of yours to buy a house. Well, I didn't know. I said, because you don't care enough to know. You don't care enough to know anything about my life. You want to see me as who I used to be because that's the me you're comfortable with. But even with like pushing, I was saying earlier, I'm going, like, I'll go anywhere to work. I'm trying to go to New York to work. But I need, like I was saying, I need the schools to be able to work with me. If I got to travel to survive, they need to make sure that if my children are with me, they're able to get the proper learning, which of course they got a laptop, and not penalize them for stepping out like that. Because learning isn't always inside the classroom. You have to travel, see other places, experience other things, go to different landmarks, excuse me, talk to different people. That networking is so important. You should never be stuck in your own city, especially as young people. You got to have that taste for travel and wanting more because it broadens your horizon. Sitting in Pittsburgh all day isn't it? And that's a sad thing. I know that maybe 20 years ago, I knew people who never been outside of Pittsburgh. And it was a terrible thing to know. I said, you've never been out of Pittsburgh. And proudly they said no. And I said, that's a shame. There's so much more out there.
Yeah, and a lot of parents, sad to say, can't afford to take their kids to do things living check to check.
Yeah.
So that you're right. There's a lot of self growth and travel. Whether it's in a group or individually. So yes, that's important as well. Like I think I didn't even realize how important that is until a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? It showed up in my life, and I cared to start doing those things again. You know, um, but that's very interesting. So you touch bases on the school system.
Mhm.
So I see that you have some type of vision for the school system or some type of understanding on how to help the youth learn uh, more eagerly in the school system. Do you care to elaborate on that?
So, school now is not how it used to be. It needs to be more action based, going back to the museums, doing hands on things. Like traveling should definitely be a part of the curriculum. And the school, they used to take you on trips. I remember schools taking you on trips. And now it's more or less you sit in a classroom, you be quiet, and you learn things that are not pertaining to life. Children don't have any and you'll hear it all the time. They don't know how to manage their finances. They don't know how to care for their house. I think that they are now taking away home economics to where they're learning how to sew and cook and clean. Basic things that you need to know in class. I think my son told me they didn't even do the one where they teach the girls about sex ed. It's terrible that the basic things that we need in life they're not being taught. Even with technology, if you look at some of the schools that have better funding, which we could get the funding because look at the roads. There's construction everywhere. You're spending millions of dollars doing construction. Put that in the schools. City of Pittsburgh has it. They have money, but they choose where they're going to put that money. But they've got these science programs, technology programs at the schools that have that are in the better areas, and these children are excelling. Like one of the reasons why I moved back to where I'm at is because of the school system. My children, and I'll say it out loud, were down Arlington School. A 7-year old right after school. Now I understand this is a part of environment. I understand that we've got parents out there that think it's cute for their children be twerking, throwing up gang signs, and all that foulness. But I can't have my children around it because it takes one time for my child who doesn't think about that to walk past, or the child might be on a bad day, or just wilding out to pull a knife on them, and now my child's life is ended, no future because of that environment. And that's why it doesn't take just one thing, it's a whole circumference of things
Slow,
you got
yeah.
to deal with. And like I said before, I used to try to bridge the different things when I was working in the community doing my advocate work. So I would work with the police, I would work with the community, I work with the churches, try to work with the families. And when I did work with families, especially with death, one thing I always said is, if I help you and you have someone in your family that you know is out there in the streets, please work with them because I don't want to go deal with another family. Not that you have to, but I'm doing all this for you. I'm riding with you. I'm doing these marches. I'm going to homicide with and for you. I'm talking to the politicians. I'm like getting favors from people that I normally wouldn't talk to. Like that's how I want to say, and he can correct me because he probably see this. Me and Ed got cool. I want to say it was because of something that happened in the streets, but we've been cool ever since. But I can't call in favors and then you turn around and somebody in your family's out here murdering somebody. Step up. Step big like you asked me to. Talk to them. Talk them till you turn blue in the face. Cry to them like you cried at that funeral for yours. Because I don't want to see that. It is a terrible thing and it happens so many times that I've helped somebody with their arrangements and just go through things. And then the next thing you know, maybe a year or two later, somebody in their family then did something that they're close to, close enough to where they could have said something or did something or swayed them in a different way or say, hey, let me help you get a job or have the courage. Have the courage. The same sadness you had, turn that into courage and say, you're wrong. Don't do that. Stop. Because we know when my son was trying to get on that path, I said, I will fuck you up. I had to. You don't got to, boy, you got it good. You ain't never had to touch the streets. Never. But you choose to. And I get that there's an influence, but we can move it to where the ones that have the greater influence, we can try to help them see a different way to where they're seeing, just like with the music. When they see someone who is popular and influential moving in a different direction, they gonna move with them.
Right.
It's just how it
You're
is.
right. Because right now they screaming pop perks and pop that coochie, and they doing it right with
Doing it right with
them.
them.
So you're right in that aspect. That is a excuse me. That is, the repeating thing that our communities keep reflecting on. And how do you drown that out? Because you definitely made a statement in calling it influential. You
Mhm.
know, so I appreciate you for coming on here because, like I said, you got a very prominent voice and foot to action. Like I hope that people that don't know you on here can see her passion and knows that truly she really does work in our communities and do good and hard work. You know, I don't know that gets valued in our community amongst our kind. That's what's going to make this a harder fight, even for myself, trying to set out to change the narrative. Because I realize people, in order to do that, you got to be accountable to the things you think you're not accountable to, and that's the hardest thing, or the first thing a person should be trying to fix is self accountability. you know and I know that I have issues with my children, but believe me, I'm not short on trying.
Yeah.
That, like I said, this is an effort, for me. Like, I mean, ain't too much I can do. I can't chase you around, I can't make you listen, I can't bust you in the head because I'm gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
So what choices do I have? I'm never going to give up the fight. So I'm asking, like she's asking, for people to give this a little more attention. So like, comment, share, #9, please, by any means. I do see you. interacting, and I want to give a few shout outs to Lamar. What's up, bro? That's my guy. McCarter, how you doing? I could see a few names, but I appreciate those that I didn't get a chance to respond to, or that just viewed in. I thank you for paying attention. But I do want to move forward because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do think we are getting on here for a little bit, long now. But I guess we touched two female dynamics. Is there something else you want to say?
I just feel that when you hear this or you hear anybody saying anything or talking about the issues and situations that we're talking about, don't tune out, because as soon as you tune out, it's going to affect you in a way that you can't shake, because when you ignore it, it's going to be your child or your niece or your nephew or somebody.
Excuse me, I gotta step out for a second.
And
Go ahead and
it's
talk.
and it's all of us together. You have to really work towards life. Life is something we have to fight for. Our children need us. They're supposed to be our future, but does the future look bright or does it look dim? And everybody should be having these conversations. They're sharing these fights on social media. They're sharing videos of people twerking. It's You're seeing people on, like, just doing all of the things that are not conducive to our future. You're seeing people treating people in such a way that is not what we really represent. And if you love your children and you don't want to see them in the streets, and you don't want to see them dead, and you don't want to see them in jail, you have to make some moves. You got to be bold. Everybody saying they standing on, was it 10 toes down? 10 toes down for the future. 10 toes for that. You want somebody free, make sure that they don't go back. Go as hard for your children as you do for all the nonsense, the clothes, for the men, for the women. They need you. I promise you. Give your child a hug. They will appreciate that. Tell them you love them. Even if it's something small, tell them you're proud of them. Be like, hey, champ, you did good. They need that. They really need to feel like they did, or whenever that point in their life when they were loved. Rather it be 5 months old, a year old, 7 years old, they still need that same love. Even though they're growing into adults and it may be scary for you, it's scarier for them because they don't know what's in hand. And the world is not a great place, especially for us. Love on your children, love on other people's children. Sometimes it's another person that can pull your child aside or pull someone else's child aside and say, I'm proud of you, or hey, what you doing with yourself? Hey, I got something you could do. You want to make some good money? Jump into the CDL stuff. Get you a business going. It's always somebody. If you can't reach your child, have them talk to somebody else that you trust. But it's all love. And like I told Diamond, I'm open to talk about anything. I'm not afraid. All the worst stuff that has already happened to me, ain't nothing else that can be done. And I don't want it happening to nobody else. It's all about clearing the boulders out the way so nobody has to experience the things that we went through. It was terrible. It's nothing to be proud of. It's traumatizing. We still dream about this stuff. And I trust you all. I trust you all well. And I say peace.
I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I come to some understanding. We were kind of talking about what I went through recently. You know what I mean? And I was asked the question on how, as a man, am I willing to be that open or reflective? And I say that's the problem with not having a father around, not knowing how to control your emotions, but use them when they're uncontrollable. Because as a person, you're going to come to that uncontrollable moment, and a lot of people never bounce back or know what to do with that. And I realize that a lot of youth, such as you and I, live in those moments, and our life is built off of that. And it's hard to change that narrative in people that don't want to listen, especially when the teachers follow those that should be learning, not teaching. Meaning that the youth, the people on this here internet, 60, 50 years old, twerking in the club is unacceptable.
Yeah, definitely.
How are you going to be grandma and slash bro at the same time? Like, what are they supposed to learn if you confused on what you represent? You
And
know
you're
what I mean?
praising the wrong things.
Right. And that's a real touchy situation that where I said earlier, we got to learn to be accountable.
It doesn't matter if it's touchy. You cannot be sensitive to foolishness and let
Not
people
at all.
can't live and let people force you to live in their delusions. They might think it's okay to do the foolishness and it's cool, but we, as real as it can get, we're not living in a fucking delusion. You're wrong, and I'm not scared to say it. Bitch, what is you out there for, popping your pussy on the floor and you got grandkids?
Fuck
The
it.
fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's the
Right.
truth.
It's the
And if
truth.
and if we let people, if we sit there and let them, and we live in their delusion, then we're gonna be a world full of delusional, crazy people. Somebody gotta speak up. That's why you brought me here. You gotta speak up. Everybody else is scared and, oh, I don't want to touch. No, fuck that.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah, you got to
Why
be.
is you? Why are you? Why? I'm not. We got a friend who does it, but why are you still doing the things you did when we were 16, 17 years old? It's time to grow. Like you said, when you don't have a father, it comes to a point where you're like, all right, I wasn't wrong. I was wrong then. But now we're adults. You know your folks, you got these children looking at you. And if you don't care, why would they care?
Right.
So I'm out at the club, I'm pulling guns out, and I'm 50 years old. I'm out here talking about guns and gang banging and cripping. I mean, we jokingly say that, but if I'm living a certain way and I am a role model, not that I asked to be, but because at the age I'm put as a role model and I'm acting like a fool, I need to be held accountable by my peers. Check me. Check me.
I did a video, I did a video with my daughters where they spoke with my daughter and her friends, and they spoke on that topic. And I thought that one thing that they said was how you know they viewed me being an active father in my children's life. But like I said, I still have my own issues with my children. Like, they ain't no saints, and I'm quite sure the public know it. And I ain't gonna sit around and act like, oh, I'm some great father. But at the same time, I realized where I couldn't reach my own children, so I hold myself accountable to that. You know what I mean? Because I made my own mistakes. Just to give you context or be truthful.
Yeah.
But where I couldn't reach my kids, I reached their friends. I reached out to their friends. So now their friends, when they see me, they still come back and talk to me, and they hold me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just seen Tiz and his son like the other night. Like, I was really joyed by the way his son greeted me, like, being one
Yeah.
of his coaches, you know, where he could look back and actually give me some emotion behind saying me. That made me feel good. It also let me know the importance of other people in your life as a young man, you
Right.
know, and that's what I'm gonna say again. I thank you for giving me the chance to do, because now these young women can see an older lady that has similar struggles and get somewhere. You know what I mean? Because like you said, we're not paying too much attention to the excuse me, the demand for things, worried about the feelings for things. You know what I'm saying? And we got to cut out the feelings, because those forces that you fight don't work with feelings. So as long as we continue to do the same things, we're going to get the same results. And you can't blame somebody for the decisions they made ignorantly. But if we as a public begin to hold each other accountable in a whole, then we can hold the public accountable for what goes against that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to take up too much of your time. So at this point, I think this conversation may be over. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, any topic you want to talk about, call me back. Because like I said, I'm at an age now, and I've been like this though. If anything needs to be talked about, we can talk about it. Because I want to. I'm so big on success. I'm so big on young people living a full life. I'm so big on them just being the best they could be because they deserve it. We have struggled so long. We've been through it. They don't need to go through it. So rather it be the young people, the older people, and whatever needs to be addressed, we could talk about it. So just want to see change. We don't got long in this life.
Great. With that being said, I want to give you my final thought. But before I do that, I hope that you could really begin to share in my quest here, because as you can see, there's a few people that believe in what needs to be done out here. I ain't even saying what I'm trying to do. That's kind of what I wanted to say, but it ain't a test just for me alone. So I don't want to, make myself some type of, deity to that, because we all need help in successfully raising these children out here. My final thought would be the importance of leadership, the lack of it. Um, we both expressed, male and female, how there's certain people that touch spaces in our life, places in our life, and things in our life that allowed us to become different people, no matter what we experience. And that's not an easy task. Like I must give deep emotion to that, because learning to shut your emotions off is easy, but learning to live and be accountable and turn them back on is the hard part, because it begins to build your self identity. But you can't be successful in life until you know who you are. Remember, I am your host, Darnell Henderson. Until then, back at you. That was great. I love you for that. That was nice. Hey, yo, I can't wait to get this machine. When I get this machine, we'll be able to do it so much better, because you won't have to sit there with your coat on. I should have told you to take out, but by the time I realized I didn't want to bring light, you know what I'm saying? But I have to go back and watch it. Thank you for that, man. And we got some views. My girl. Thank you. That's gonna do some numbers though. Take it and share. I'm gonna tag you. I